You ever hear a story that hits you so unexpectedly that you have to sit down for a second and replay it in your head, just to make sure you really heard it right? Because what I'm about to tell you started with a billionaire laughing and ended with him on his knees, crying like a man who finally realized he's been blind his whole life. And the person who opened his eyes wasn't a doctor, not a therapist, not a world-famous specialist. It was a quiet black maid, a woman he barely noticed, a woman his wealthy friends would have walked past without a second glance. She looked him dead in the eye and said 7 words that froze him in place. "I helped your son speak, just for food." That's when everything changed. All right, let me pull you into this the way it really happened. So this billionaire, Marcus Hale, he wasn't the loud, show-off kind. No gold chains, no flashy cars. His power was quieter, colder. The kind of man who'd walk into a room and everybody's posture changed a little, like they were suddenly aware of how small their lives were compared to his. But behind all that money, Marcus carried one wound he couldn't buy his way out of. His 7-year-old son, Jordan, hadn't spoken a single word in 3 years. Not dad, not help, not even the soft little hums kids make when they're happy. Just silence. Doctors said it was selective mutism. Therapists said he needed time. Specialists said it would resolve eventually. But years passed and nothing changed. And every night Marcus sat outside Jordan's door, holding a storybook the boy never asked him to read. Now here's where it gets wild. Marcus had a huge estate, 10 bedrooms, marble floors, all that wealthy people nonsense. And in that estate worked a maid named Lonnie. She was in her late 20s, soft-spoken, always moving like she didn't want anyone to hear her footsteps. She wasn't hired through an agency, didn't come with a resume full of impressive references. She was just a girl who needed work and told the truth when most people wouldn't. "I can clean, I can cook a little, but mostly, I work hard." That was enough. She got the job. For months, nobody noticed her. She cleaned Jordan's playroom, folded laundry in the corners of the house, stayed out of people's way. But whenever she passed by Jordan, she'd pause for a second, like she was studying him, like she saw something no one else bothered to look at. One afternoon, Marcus came home early. He wasn't in a good mood. Some deal went sideways. Some investor got shakier than expected. He marched into the kitchen ready to complain to the chef about lunch not being ready. And he heard something he hadn't heard in years. A tiny sound, barely a whisper, a voice, a child's voice. At first, he froze. His brain refused to believe it. He walked down the hall, slow, careful, and when he got to the playroom, that's where he saw it. Jordan was sitting on the carpet, and right beside him, cross-legged, smiling gently, was Lonnie. And Jordan was talking, not babbling. Talking, not a lot, not loud, but he was forming words. Clear words. Marcus felt his heart slam against his ribs. He burst into the room like someone kicked down a door in his chest. "Jordan," he said, breathless. But the moment Jordan saw him, the sound died in his throat, and silence swallowed the room again. Just like that. Gone. Marcus turned to Lonnie with this wild confusion on his face. "What did you do?" he demanded, like she had performed some sort of magic spell. And Lonnie, instead of panicking or shrinking back, just calmly looked at him and said, "Nothing special, sir." Now Marcus wasn't a man used to nothing special. His whole life was built on things that were extraordinary. He pressed her again, irritated. "How did you get him to speak?" he asked. That's when she said it. "I helped your son speak, just for some food." She said it so simply, like she was telling him she watered a plant. Marcus laughed. A sharp, confused, disbelieving laugh. Food? That's what it took. He thought she was joking, or maybe trying to sound humble in that way people do when they're scared their boss is about to accuse them of stepping out of line. But she wasn't joking. She wasn't even flinching. She explained it softly. Jordan never ate with his father. Meals were always sent upstairs. Chefs made gourmet dishes that tasted like fancy names and nothing else. Lonnie noticed Jordan didn't eat them. He'd push the plates away or just stare at them. One day she came in with her own lunch in foil. Rice, beans, some chicken she stretched out to last 2 days. Jordan sniffed it. She caught him watching. She asked him if he wanted to try. He nodded. Just one bite. And after that bite, he whispered, "More." His first word in years. Not because of therapy, not because of specialists, but because of food. Simple food that reminded him of comfort, warmth, something real. Marcus didn't know what to say. He'd paid hundreds of thousands of dollars on treatment, flown doctors from other countries, bought every expensive therapy toy, every device, every flashcard system. But a maid with rice and beans did what none of them could. But here's the thing about billionaires. Their first reaction when they don't understand something? Control it. Marcus told her, "Whatever you did, do it again tomorrow." And he said it like an order, like she was a button he could press. That's when Lonnie gently shook her head. "I can't force him. He trusts me. That's different from obeying." And right there, right in the middle of that polished, glossy playroom, it was like somebody slapped Marcus awake. No one had ever told him the difference between obedience and trust. People obeyed him all day, but trusting him? That was a different story. That night Marcus didn't sleep. Not because he was angry, because he was embarrassed. Embarrassed that this woman, whom he barely noticed, understood his son better than he did. Embarrassed that he thought throwing money at the problem would fix what required patience, gentleness, and heart. The next morning something happened that shocked everyone in the house. Marcus woke up, went downstairs, and instead of calling his driver or yelling for coffee, he walked straight to the kitchen. Lonnie was there washing dishes. He cleared his throat, awkwardly. "Can you teach me?" he asked. She looked confused. "Teach you what, sir?" And Marcus, a billionaire used to having the world bend for him, whispered, "Teach me how to talk to my son." And that was the real beginning. For weeks, Marcus followed her guidance. Quietly, respectfully, he sat on the floor instead of towering above Jordan. He stopped asking questions Jordan couldn't answer, stopped hovering like a storm cloud, started waiting, letting Jordan come to him. And the progress wasn't instant, but it was steady. One word, then two, then small sentences. Jordan still spoke more to Lonnie than to Marcus, but the boy's fear melted, bit by bit, every time his dad showed up without pressure. And one evening, this is the moment that breaks everybody. Marcus walked into the playroom to say good night, and Jordan whispered, "Daddy." Marcus didn't move for a whole second. He couldn't. His body froze, his throat locked, and tears just spilled like he'd been holding them in for years. Lonnie watched from the doorway, smiling softly, because she knew that sound wasn't about her food or her presence anymore. It was about a boy finally feeling safe with his own father. The next day, Marcus asked Lonnie to sit with him at the dining table, not as a maid, but as someone he respected. He apologized, not just for ignoring her, but for assuming she had nothing to teach him. And he told her something she never expected. "If you ever want to go to school, start a business, take a different job, anything, I'll fund it." But Lonnie shook her head. "All I want," she said, "is for Jordan to keep growing. He's a good kid." Marcus offered again. She refused again. Not out of fear, out of dignity. She wanted her future to come from her own hands, not his guilt. But she accepted one thing. A raise. A huge one. Enough to take care of her mother, who had been sick for years. Enough to stop worrying about rent. Enough to breathe. Marcus didn't just gain his son's voice back. He gained humility, perspective, and the understanding that sometimes the people society overlooks are the ones carrying the wisdom we desperately need. And Lonnie? She didn't become famous. She didn't make headlines. She didn't write a book or open a therapy center. She just kept showing up, doing her work with quiet strength, until one day Jordan hugged her without hesitation. And she whispered to him, "See? I told you your voice was waiting for you." And here's the part one want you to take with you. Sometimes the people who help us the most are not the ones with titles, degrees, or power. Sometimes it's the person we overlook. The one who sees through the noise, who listens when no one else does. The one who brings out the voice we didn't even know we still had. If you're watching this right now, maybe there's someone in your life like Lonnie. Someone you haven't really noticed. Someone quietly holding everything together. Maybe, just maybe, it's time to see them. Thanks for watching, Black Visionaries family. If this story touched you even a little, drop a comment below, hit that like button, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that compassion isn't measured in wealth, it's measured in heart.